Hey guys, welcome to another stream. Today we will have another race in the Tom Hanks racing series. I will start up BeamNG in just a moment, and then we will get into it. So today will be race number 3 in round 2 of season 1 in the Tom Hanks racing series. I know all those numbers are confusing, but if you read the OP in the thread, then you'll know exactly what all of those mean. Hey Adderall and and hi Tez, how are you two going? How are you two doing? By the way, Tez, since this is another circuit type of race, could you do me a favor and open a spreadsheet so we can keep track of the lap time, of the fastest lap time that we have here? I'm good, thanks for asking. Should be pinned in our mods and admin chat, I think. Okay, so as always, I'm gonna warm up with the with my own car, and then we will get to racing the other cars in the reverse order of the current overall standings. Now, speaking of which, since this is the final race of the second round, and only the top 6 cars will continue to the third round, we will eliminate 3 more cars after this race, and on that note, we have 2 cars at the moment that are tied for 6th place, aka one of these 2 will be eliminated after this race. And those 2 cars are going to be the THRS and the Bakerfield. So, that's going to be exciting. I'm going to make sure to get into a good groove here. So that I can give each car a fair shot. I'm rooting for the VHOR, but Bakerfield moves on, I think. I hope this Bakerfield finds a big cliff and throws itself off the edge. Along with the monstrosity I made for the damn challenge. Well, that was fun though. Yeah, but by the way, I'm also gonna go with a rolling start. Because we only have 2 laps per car this time. And so obviously if I were to do with a standing start, then of course the second lap would always be faster than the first. Just to, just due to the fact that first lap would have a standing start. So a flying lap is always faster than a standing lap. did get quite a bit of did get quite upset there by a bump after the actual landing. Pulled the handbrake, I think, early enough. Yeah, you're never gonna go right on the inside there. Like I just did. And you never wanna do that either. That time I didn't brake enough. I mean, in some situations, the handbrake is sort of like a last resort to get the car turning. Like, I don't know if you saw this, but after the first jump in this lap, like normally this car is set up in such a way that due to the brake balance, you can get the car rotating under braking. And I don't know if you saw that, but on this lap, after the first jump, it kind of understeered off because of the little bump there is when you go through that little puddle of mud. And so it understeered off, and there, if I hadn't used the handbrake, I wouldn't have gotten into the corner in time. And so it's basically a last resort to get the car turning in if the car gets kind of out of line by external factors such as that bump right there. But other than that, yeah, sure. If it rotates fine under braking, no need to use the handbrake. Now, how do we go about this? Do we still go in reverse order of the current overall standings, or do we run the two cars that are currently tied for 6th last to make it a little bit more to make it a little bit more tense to see which one gets eliminated? We will definitely start with the Wells because that's in dead last overall, and unless it wins here, that's not gonna change. Random last? Okay. Let's random last. Okay, good. Now, unless the Wells wins this track, which, given its track record so far, it probably won't, but you never know. Unless it wins here, it will stay in last place out of the cars that remain here. So this will be eliminated no matter what. It's soft enough. It's too soft, as you saw there. Yeah, it just kind of wobbles about. I mean, soft suspension sort of helps absorb the jumps, but when it just struggles through the numerous corners around this track, then, you know, that little bit of time that it potentially saves on those jumps is just completely meaningless. It pales in comparison to the time it loses through the corners. The creator of the Wells Deuce the Truth has also asked me for advice on the suspension since entering the competition, and since I first said that the suspension is far too soft. And so I made a retune that is obviously not this car, because that would be unfair. I'm not gonna put a retuned car that I retuned into the competition and replace the original car with it. Not gonna do that. But I sent it to him, and yeah, he was thankful for the advice. You can't edit the sheet? Hold on. Oh, are you not signed into Google at the moment? Because it doesn't say your name when I hover over the icon of who's on the spreadsheet. Let me see. Hang on. I will... Yep. Share. Okay. Refresh, and then it should work. Let me know if it works. So again, the fastest lap time here counts, meaning that in this case, the best lap time was the first lap, 50.230. Yeah, no worries. Good. Let's move on. Next up is the Cordelia Simba. This one, I gotta say, nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's just kind of lacking a little bit in overall pace compared to some of the other cars. Suspension-wise, it's fine, but it just doesn't have the same urge as the others. Oh. I broke the suspension. Gotta restart. Didn't really want to rotate there, even with a little bit of handbrakes. Yeah, once it gets to sort of midway through a corner, this car suffers from a little bit of understeer, which is probably due to the power distribution. I think a little bit more of it could go to the rear. Other than that, I think handling-wise is actually a decent car, but it just doesn't seem to have the same sort of oomph that the better cars have, and that's why it's just generally lagging a little bit behind. Alright, and that'll be a 48.814 for the Cordelia Simba. Actually 2 seconds fast, 1.4 seconds faster than the Wells. Decent time, but we will move on, and since we are going to skip the Vihor and Bakerfield and save that duel for the end, we will now continue on with the Armor, which itself is only 2 points behind the Saishin, so it might be a pretty epic battle in its own right, but unless I think both the Armor and the Saishin are safe from the Bakerfield and Vihor, because the point gap between them is too large, unless the Armor or Saishin drop considerably and the Bakerfield or Vihor wins. Then there might be some place swapping. But between the Armor and the Saishin, anything can happen in this race. But it won't get them eliminated either way. Man, driving this after the Cordelia feels like I'm driving a car made to an entirely different spec. Feels like one class of car, one tier of car above I have to say it like that. I'm sorry to the creator of the Cordelia, but this really feels like it's in a... Really feels like this is, you know, one class higher. And this is that's also what it's gonna be like with the other cars, I'm sure. Dropped just behind at the very last split still. 47.486 for the armor. Not a perfect lap at that. After the first jump in that right-hander, I did go wide in that lap. But hey, if you're looking for a perfect racing line every time, you can... Sorry to disappoint, but you came to the wrong channel. But I think you should already be aware of that by this point. Next is the Seishin Boken RC. And we will see how this stacks up against the armor on this track. I feel like I owe an apology to the armor at this point, because in all of these races it's felt and performed so good. It's just that it's always been me, aka the human component, that kind of let the car down a bit. And I have that feeling with the armor more than I have it with other cars. Like in particular, I remember the rallycross stage, where on that final lap, I think it was the final lap there with the armor, where I was doing very well until that final hairpin, where I went way too wide, and I think I could have probably placed second with the armor on in that race, maybe even first. It was really damn good, but it only ended up coming fourth due to my mistake. And got it in the end. 47.117 for the Seishin, so it will stay ahead of the armor. I did get some cleaner laps with this than with the armor, so again, sort of feel like I owe an apology to Armor Motors for this one, but it has to be said, on this track, the Saishin was the easier car to drive quickly. So, credit where credit is due. Teacup made a good car. So, next is the Mara Xenia. And I think I said it before, but the Mara has pretty much the most front-end grip, the most aggressive kind of turn-in out of all cars. So we will see how that helps it on this track, which is generally pretty slow and has fairly slow corners, and especially this last corner that we're about to approach on our rolling start here. Especially this last one, that's where that front end bite could really come in handy. Didn't brake quite enough there. This is also the first car where it went over that hump easily without using the handbrake. Like it went over that, it went through that corner over the hump easily without needing the handbrake. In fact, there I didn't use the handbrake either, and it went sideways just from turning in. That was... Yeah, I feel like I owe the car a restart after that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was almost at the... Yes, this has an inline 3. Because I broke the car there. I know I was close to finishing the second lap, but... Well, if you don't like that I restarted because I was close to the end on this track, imagine how people felt when I did the classic rally competition last year or 2 years ago, and one of the races was in the 1957 and 1964 seasons was the Italy mixed hill climb, which with those cars took about 7 minutes per run. Imagine how people felt when I had to restart there if I crashed near the end. So yeah. That was beautiful. No handbrake at all there. Okay, that was... I think this car is amazing around here. 46.196, nearly a full second quicker than the Saishin. I knew this car was gonna be great here. But we'll have to find out... no, the The other lap was the faster one. Okay, there we go. 46.196 indeed. This was, honestly, this was a mind-blowing performance right there. And we will see if the top two can match that. We have the Subaru Jukesa, which in the first race on a street stage wasn't so convincing. It only came, I think, 6th. But since then, this has been absolutely phenomenal. It won the second race and came second in every race after that. You predicted a high 47 for yourself. So if that's what your car ends up doing, then yeah, you might come like 4th, 5th here, but I have a hard time imagining that you would place anything lower than like 2nd or 3rd. Again, no problems going through there without handbrake. But here, I think the car is just sits a bit too low. So the bump kind of slowed it down a bit. Nothing has gone around that multi-part left-hander as beautifully as the Mara. So, best time for the Subaru was the 46.950 from the first lap. Yeah, this is really bad on the jumps. Or are you referring to your own car? Nevertheless, this is still in 2nd place as of right now, ahead of the Saishin. Okay. Well, you're up next, so we will see. Yeah, it kind of had a sort of secondary bounce after the landing there that messed with the line that I was trying to take. May I say this is the first track where this doesn't feel as dominant as it has. And then it does that. You can't see me right now, but since I don't have my webcam turned on, but I've kind of thrown my arms up in the air as I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Yeah, once again, fastest time of the day probably. We have 2 more cars to go, but that's a 45.552 for the HFF. But we still have a battle going on for who gets eliminated. So, the Vihor. And then the Bakerfield. My guess is that on this track, the Bakerfield is gonna be quicker. Because I think that the suspension is better set up for around here, but I might be wrong. That was a pretty good lap. Well, I tried. This was still a fairly quick lap here, though. 46.684. That's what, third? Third right now, yeah. Whew, so this is ahead of the Duquesa, which makes it seem less likely that anything is going to catch up to the HFF overall in the last 3 races. But also, it sets the benchmark quite high. It sets a pretty big target for the Bakerfield to beat. Now, in the interest of fairness, and I will say this right now, okay? I have learned a little bit more about how to drive this track properly as we went on in this competition, and particularly, and let me show you, I'll restart because I do a little bit of a demonstration run here in this first lap, because and then we'll do the actual 2 laps for this Baker field. I'll show you what I mean. In particular, I have learned that not only am I more consistent about this braking point now, but more importantly, I have learned that you can take this corner right here without the handbrake in pretty much most cars. So I've done it with like 5 or so cars in a row, but I haven't done it in some cars at the start. Particularly the Armor and the Seishin are the ones that are relevant for the overall standings. So that corner can definitely cost quite a bit of time if you do it with the handbrake like I did. Should I rerun them? Those two, the Seishin and the Armor, because I did them without handbrake for the Mara, the Subaru, and the HFF, as well as the VHOR. And I'm gonna do it without for the Baker field as well. That rotation right there was not me using the handbrake, that was just the car getting thrown off by the bump. And in fact, from what it feels like right now, it's the VHOR that seems to be set up better for around here. And I broke the car. Understeer there. This doesn't seem to soak up the bumps as well as the VHOR did. And I did improve on the last lap, and that's gonna be a 46.869. I will not rerun the Subaru, by the way, because I just don't think it did very well here. And I did that one corner without handbrake, so you know, it's apples to apples. We will rerun the Seishin and the VHOR, because those are also not the VHOR, the Seishin and the Armor, excuse me, because those two are also relevant to the overall standings, since they are sort of close to the Mara and very close to each other, only 2 points between them. And I want to give both of them like a fair shot and drive them equally to the other cars. So we're on the armor right now. I'm saying this, by the way, as well, because I know Teacup is going to rewatch the stream, and if I don't, and if I didn't, and if I kind of just brushed it off, then Teacup would go, oh, yeah, you didn't need to use the handbrake there. That probably lost me 3 or 4 times on my lap time, and he would be right. Oh no. Late breaking point, but sort of saved it. Really tight corner there. Like really tight line there. Couldn't quite... I had a good first little split with this, but the 46.812 for the armor is going to land it ahead of the Baker field. And we will get to the Saishin right now. I think this was faster than the armor before, and I think it'll still be faster with the, you know, proper line, but the question is going to be how much faster, and what will this do to the overall results. I was really impressed by the VHOR, by the way. That was... It did have its moments before, like especially on the street stage, the very first race. It did exceptionally well there. But it's kind of been very up and down since then. This was certainly another up moment for it. That was on the raggedy edge right there. I often feel like I'm carrying a bit more speed than I'm comfortable with in this. That was a 46.6. That second lap actually felt like it was cleaner than the first, but the first was actually quite a bit faster. 46.285. Wow. Okay, so after all of this, I will now quickly sort the range. And we will see the results right here. The best lap was set against all expectations except my own by the HFF Motors Pride with a 45.552. The second fastest lap was posted by the Mara at 46.196, followed by the Saishin at 46.285. Then we have the Vihor at 46.684, meaning the Bakerfield Acre, even though it did very well, at a 46.812, unfortunately, it's at a 46.869, and the 46.812 was by the Armor. Unfortunately, the Bakerfield is now out of the competition. The Subaru Jukesa only came in 7th this time at a 46.95. The Cordelia Simba is also out with a 48.814, and then the Wells did a 50.23 and is also eliminated. So I will do the scores real quick. All right, and so the remaining 6 cars that will move on to round number 3, aka races 7 through 9, are going to be the HFF Motors Pride, the Mara, Xenia, the Saishin Boken, the Vihor, the Armor, and the Subaru. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next race next Saturday. Till then, have a good one. Bye-bye.